All right, here we go, man. Salute to NBA Nation on this Thursday afternoon. Another edition of the NBA Reports, hosted by yours truly, CP the Franchise. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. On today's show, the Trae Young era in Atlanta is over, but we got to talk about why this is an absolute scam. So I'm going to get into it. I'm going to give you my grades for the Hawks, for the Wizards. Well, we got to talk about this absolute sham of a trade negotiation process in the NBA. Plus, speaking of trade, Giannis is speaking again, and of course, it's annoying, man. But yeah, Giannis is talking trade. He's talking his commitment, his love for Milwaukee, so we'll get into that as well. Plus, we got to put some respect on my boy R.J. Barrett and the Toronto Raptors name. Raptors, 4th place in the East right now. We got to talk about it, man. So lock in, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. We in here, man. Salute, salute, salute. All right, here we go, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. NBA Report. We are back up and running, and good to be back, man. Still looking to get into a groove here on the and on the NBA Report, man. We're locking in on a weekly time slot. We've been testing different days, different times, and just trying to figure out what works best for our audience. But we're gonna keep it rocking and keep it locked in. We salute to everybody in the chat. Remember to hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. You can call us up on the NBA Report Discord, and the link is right there down below. So make sure you guys hit us up on the NBA Report Discord. Okay. The end of an era, ladies and gentlemen. Trae Young is out of Atlanta. News breaking just yesterday that Trae Young was dealt to the Washington Wizards in exchange for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. So this was announced, shout out to Mark Stein of the Stein Line and his Substack newsletter. He reported earlier this week that the Wizards were in the lead, on the leaderboard here, and everybody's like, Wizards, whoa. How did that happen? Well, according to this collaboration article in The Athletic by David Aldridge and the gang, it seems like, according to them, this had been brewing for months, that Trae Young and his representation sought the Wizards as a promising destination months ago. Not only was Washington in need of a point guard, but Young and his reps saw the franchise's youth movement and roster flexibility as an opportunity to build. Translation: we had no other offers. We had no other offers. I mean, come on, man. It's a very hard trade to make. This is a guy who had been struggling mightily. Although, hey, you got a 4-time All-Star here. All-NBA. All-Rookie team. 13th all-time in the all-time points per game list in the NBA. 11th all-time in assists per game. So, I mean, look, this is a guy who once upon a time was a one-man offense in the NBA, and you have to put some respect on his name. He's only 27 years old at the end of the day, but he has fallen on hard times, and so have the Hawks while he was at the helm. I mean, after their Eastern Conference run, and yes, they beat my Knicks, but after that Eastern Conference Finals run, they got knocked out in the first round. Got knocked out in the first round back-to-back years. And then you had no playoffs, losing season, no playoffs, losing season. And right now they are standing at 18-21. 18-21. But the insult to injury here, if you will, with Trae Young is that the Hawks were 16-13 without him, and 2-8 with him in that lineup. And look, the writing was on the wall for this trade, especially in the offseason where he didn't have the contract extension. There was talk about the ascensions of Shea, Jaylen Brown in their next years. The third year for Jaylen Brown, this being his third year. Zachary Shea, this being his second year, the former number 1 pick. The offseason additions that they made, signing Alexander Walker, who gave credit to Trae Young for recruiting him, getting Luke Kennard, they trade for Porzingis. But I always thought that the Hawks were in a good spot because they were treading in a direction that could kind of serve two masters in a sense, where the all-season acquisitions that they made could allow them to compete. I'm surprised at where they are. I thought they would have been way better than this, but they had to do so without Trae Young at some parts and without Porzingis. But I thought that they were in a good spot just in terms of having the roster to compete and maybe even challenge in the East with the pieces that they added. Or you get the flexibility, you trade them, you still have two cornerstone pieces, or what you hope to be cornerstone pieces, in Johnson and Shea. You have young talent still in their prime, and like an Alexander Walker who you just signed. And then, look, remember, you got that Pelicans first-round pick in the Derek Queen deal. So I thought the Hawks were sitting pretty and were in the driver's seat as it relates to a Trae Young deal. But still the end of an era for a player, for a player who, kind of crashed out in terms of his tenure with the Hawks. You kind of thought it would have been a lot better than this had they just added a little bit more talent. Last 3 seasons shooting no better than 43% from the field. This year, lowest points per game, only 30% from 3 this year. Some people think he may have taken a step slow, a step slower. Trae was one of those guys where you get put in a pick and roll with Trae Young, and you either got to deal with the 3-point threat, the lob threat, or the floater. He was going to slice you up in a multitude of ways. The 3-point threat, where he's shooting from 35 feet. The lob threat. Remember the lob threat? Him and Clinton Capella, or John Collins when he was there. Potent. And then he'd kill you with the floater, but he just hasn't been that dynamic as he once was at only 27 years old. So you had just seen this coming. Whether or not you want to say he quit on the team, he bailed on the team, we watched him as it relates to what would be his last game, and that was against the Knicks. And he kind of flamed out. he kind of flamed out. So you had kind of seen this kind of brewing, you know what I mean, with Trae Young and the Hawks. What the Wizards thing is quite the surprise, just because it is the Wizards. But then when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's like, what did the market look like for Trae Young? Who's really looking for him? With a player option for $50 million, and obviously he wants more. Struggling. And, the same knocks on Trae as a rookie or as a draft prospect is kind of the same things that you hear now with the defense. How does he fit? What type of offense do you build around him? Can he make his team better? First in all time on the Hawks assist list. First on 3-point makes. 6th in points. So you kind of have the same question marks about Trae Young now at 27 that you did as a rookie, when teams thought it was kind of difficult to predict where he would fit. And we all remember the draft day trade with the Hawks and the Mavericks that sent Trae Young from the Mavericks to the Hawks and Luka Doncic from the Hawks to the Mavericks. Those two guys being traded for each other, and now both being traded from their respective teams that drafted them 1 year apart. It's kind of interesting. Obviously, from the Luka standpoint, nobody saw that coming. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Flex Slayer, salute. Who's that? Jameson, salute. Mellow Mike in here. Salute to you. Gotcha Open Gaming. Shout out to Gamba. We in here. Shout out Wise Guy. I see you. So, just an interesting turn in Trae Young's career. And now he goes to the Washington Wizards. So, I mean, let's look at it from the Wizards standpoint. From the Wizards standpoint, look, you've been god-awful since your inception. Right? You've been god-awful since your inception. Terrible offense. They've been in the league basement in offense. You see some potential in your young core with the addition of Alex Sarr last year at the number 2 pick. He seems to be taking it up a notch. You bring in scrappers like a Koulibaly. You bring in a Bub Carrington. You have your scrappers there. You got some guys who've shown potential in a Kaishan George. So now you kind of need that point guard to bring it all together. I think for the Wizards, I think it's a low-risk move. You didn't give up a first-round pick. You gave up McCollum, who was most likely either going to get traded or bought out. And you gave up Kispert. Now, Kispert I liked. You know, you Knicks fans out there, Kispert I liked. But also didn't live up to much of the hype from being a lottery pick as well. Good pickup by the Hawks, but for the Wizards, it's a worthwhile gamble. And I don't mean that in a Trae Young rolling the dice on the garden floor. We don't want to evoke that memory. But it's a worthwhile shot. Give your youngsters a shot in the arm. So for the Wizards, I'll grade it a B. I'll give it a B. Because some people say with Trae Young, hey, will he make the Wizards worse? I can't see it. I think, look, he's going to help them offensively as a playmaker, as a potential shooting threat if he gets it back. And get these guys a little bit better organized than they are right now. So for the Wizards, I think it's a good deal. It's a good dice to roll. Because you are the Wizards. You're not going to sign free agents like that. So you got to go out there and you got to try to trade to improve. So we'll table that for the Wizards for now. But my thoughts on them scamming this deal, we're going to get into that as well in just a little bit. But for now, the Wizards, I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to give the Wizards a B on this one. Now, for the Hawks, I was seeing my guy KOC, my guy Kevin O'Connor was saying, the Hawks, they should have traded Trae 2-3 years ago. I can't really agree with that because you don't know what this Hawks team could be when you draft Jalen Johnson. Well, you draft Jalen Johnson to play alongside Trae Young as another lob threat, as another dynamic forward who he's becoming right now. Then you got a bad year. You go out, you go get Reese Shea with the number 1 pick. He got the number 1 pick in the draft. So you got Reese Shea, you got Jalen Johnson. You want to see how they play with Trae Young. Yeah, there's always the prospect of trading him, but I don't think you could play Monday morning quarterback and say, well, if they would have traded him 2-3 years ago, they would have gotten a better return. Probably, but that's also a hard trade to make. It's not easy to just give up on your franchise player. Everybody's not Nico Harrison here. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, I like how the Hawks continue to build so that now they have the flexibility where, hey, he's not available. We're showing that we're better without him. We got the pick from the Pelicans. We're in good shape. We can salary dump this thing. And that's what the Hawks did. It was a salary dump. When you factor in McCollum, who's not going to be long there, and Kispert, it could go either way. Now, according to reports, neither McCollum nor Kispert can be aggregated in any type of trade. So if you think they're just going to flip them for like 80 or something, they're not going to be able to be aggregated one for one differently, but they won't be able to be aggravated. So for the Hawks, they get McCollum. You get a playmaker. You get a veteran. Can still give you some scoring pop. Good presence, good leader in the locker room. So that's a bonus. And then for Kispert, you get a good three-point shooter, or what prospects to be a good three-point shooter based on how Quinn wants to run things. Kennard has kind of been on the outs. They signed Kennard to a $10 million deal, and then now they bring in Kispert. So, Kispert can carve out a role there, especially playing off of if they believe in Jalen Johnson's playmaking ability. Kispert can help. So I can't really blame them or knock them for not getting the first round pick. Because number one, you don't have a market for him. Nobody really wants him. Nobody knows what he is to invest in him. So you got to kind of just take what you can get at this point. And so they did that. So for the Hawks, I'd probably give it like a C. What do you guys think in the chat, man? How do you guys rate this for the Wizards? How do you rate it for the Hawks? Musa, what's good? Shout out DJ Eric L. Beats, Coach Rubens. We in here. Salute to the family. Gotcha Open says if it doesn't work, they can flip him or let him walk. Exactly. It's an easy 2 to 3 year experiment for the Wizards, for a team that has been garbage and looking for a bit of a shot in the arm. So I think it's a worthwhile deal for the Wizards. And for the Hawks, hey, it just is what it is kind of deal. Kind of surprising, man, because when I saw that team that sent the Knicks packing in the 2021 playoffs, and that team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, I did not think that it would be the farthest that they would be in this Trae Young tenure. I really didn't. I saw a lot of potential in that team with Trae, with Bogdanovich, Collins, Capella, Hunter off the bench. I thought they had a nice young team with potential shot creators. They were impressive, that run. They got Philadelphia up out of there. They turned Ben Simmons into a pumpkin. A lot of weird stuff came out of the Trae Young and the Hawks situation. A lot of weird stuff. And here he is. Did you guys see it last night with him? Middle of the game. They announced the trade. He goes to the back, daps up. Well, this was after the game. He's dapping up the team on the bench. But during the game, it gets announced that he gets traded. And there he is. He's dapping up DC Young Fly. Shout out 85 South. So saying bye to everybody in Atlanta. The Trae Young era is over, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so now, he says A for DL202 says A for the Hawks. They get off Trae's contract and his inefficient gunning ways. Yeah, I would give it an A if they were to get draft compensation for him. I think not getting draft compensation for him kind of tells you what the market was for him. And that was not too much. They weren't really in the driver's seat as it relates to what they could get back. DL says, what the album is Trae's not that good. A very confounding player, isn't he? He's a very confounding player because you look at the stats. Like I said, he logged the 13th highest points per game average in NBA history at 29 and change. Confounding player, man. But then the defensive woes, like you could see offensively for the Hawks, he was still helping, but defensively, it was brutal. A complete zero on the defensive side. Hooper says it's a fleece, no pick was involved. JJ says, I like the Hawks roster, especially if they get 80. Yeah, I like how the Hawks are looking, man. I told you, man, Jalen Johnson is here. Okay, I gotta turn this down. They got the Hawks background music in my ear. I got the oh let's do it. Who sang that song? Oh let's do it. Oh let's do it. Waka Flocka. There we go. I'm getting old, man. The songs don't come to me that much. But anyway, that was in my ear just now. I kept hearing it. I kept hearing a beat. But here's what I wanted to get to, why this damn trade is a scam, okay? Because we're gonna bring it back to KFTV in a way. Because as you guys know, the Washington Wizards own, or rather, the New York Knicks own the Washington Wizards 2026 first round pick, which is top 8 protected, meaning if the Wizards finish anywhere in the lottery from 1 to 8, they will keep that pick. If the Wizards finish anywhere in the lottery below 8, the Knicks will get that pick. However, according to this report in The Athletic, this is by Joshua Robbins, who covers the Washington Wizards. Okay? He repeats, Wizards owe top 8 protected pick in 26 draft. The Wizards have obsessed over keeping their first round pick, which is no guarantee. Because of that obligation, and the 2026 draft appears to be loaded with prospects, Washington will do as, it says the Wizards have an incentive to lose enough to keep the pick, which Washington will do as long as it finishes with one of the 4 worst records in the league by the end of the season. The lowest the team with the 4th worst record can finish in the NBA draft lottery is 8th, which would allow the Washington Wizards to retain the first and send 2 second-round picks to the Knicks, 1 in 26, 1 in 27. Now, here goes more. Here goes more. Sending McCollum to the Hawks also ought to suppress the Wizards' win total if Young plays a limited number of games over the remainder of this season. The Raptors did the similar thing with Brandon Ingram, who had a sprained ankle on December 7th of 2024, missed the rest of the season. Raptors came out with a lottery pick in that one. Young has missed the Hawks past 6 games with an ankle injury, and the plan is for him to rehab the ankle in-house, but no rush to bring him back. The Wizards' desire isn't for Young to help them this season. It's to contribute starting in 2026, assuming he's still around, which is the most likely scenario. So what they're telling you here is that they are going to tank the Knicks pick. Once again, you got a Wizards team that's playing well as of late. Now, they just lost one, but they had been playing well. And what they are telling you here, ladies and gentlemen, is that they intend to tank the pick, sit Ashtray down for the season, or bring him back slowly to rehab, complete garbage, so that they can lock in for the lottery. And as we see here, right now, they have the 4th worst pick. Fourth worst record. Which as of right now would give them a 48% chance at the top 4. Complete garbage, ladies and gentlemen. What is the point of negotiating trades if the team is only going to turn around and sabotage later on? There has to be bigger implications and bigger penalties for such acts of sabotage. Because here we go. Just last week, ladies and gentlemen, or 2 weeks ago, it was said that the NBA is looking for ways to curb tanking. The NBA is gathering input from the owners and general managers on new ways to combat tanking in the aftermath of the betting scandal. Now they're talking about insider information. However, in recent years, multiple teams have either shut down players early or sat players for games to try to improve their draft positioning, often tied to a protected pick. sources said multiple ideas were proposed as a brainstorming measure to combat tanking, including limiting the pick protections top 4 or 14 or higher, which would eliminate problematic mid-lottery protections, no longer allowing a team to draft in the top 4 2 years in a row, or locking lottery positions after March 1st. It gets better. One of the most blatant incidents occurred in April of 2023. Knicks fans, we talking to you again. When the Mavericks were still mathematically alive for a play-in spot, but owed a top 10 protected 2023 first-round pick to the Knicks. Dallas elected to rest Kyrie, Luka in the last game of the season against the Spurs. That allowed the Mavericks to keep the pick. It became the 10th pick. They screwed the Knicks, and they picked Derek Lively. At 12, sorry. Oh, no, they were 10, and then they traded down to get Lively. And for all that sabotage, the Mavericks were fined $750,000. That's it. So you're negotiating at the time. You're Scott Perry. You are Steve Mills, our favorite duo of Knicks executives. You are Scott Perry. You are Steve Mills. You are negotiating this Kristaps Porzingis deal. And you say, we're going to take a 2023 first-round pick, top 10 protected. So you iron that out in the contract. Only for the Dallas Mavericks to say, hey, you know what? This is going to come due if we don't sabotage this thing. So we are going to rest our players, sticking it to the fans who paid that night to see said players, sticking it to the league, and sticking it to our trade partner. And for that, they paid $750,000. And for the Knicks, what do you get? A second-round pick? Think about it. I'm not saying Derek Lively, any of these guys, was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But think about the potential of having said lottery pick with the team that you built the right way and what that could have done for your franchise's fortunes. And for not having that, your other trade partner gets fined $750,000 to an NBA team, a tax deduction. A tax write-off. And now we have it here again with the Wizards. According to multiple sources, have no intentions of playing Trae Young all that much. Here's one thing I hope. I hope Alex Saw and those, I hope they start dominating to the point where he's going to force that team to have to bench him. Utterly embarrassing. And again, for the Knicks, they get screwed. For what reason? Something has to be done here. Is it the lessen the restrictions? You lower the restrictions to just top 4? What do you guys think about that? What is the way to curb this type of behavior? It's sabotage, man. OKC, John Talento. OKC got screwed with the Philly situation last year. Philly did the same thing. I don't understand. You know, I don't think I'm just coming off as some Homer Knick fan here. I think that is legit sabotage. There's no point in negotiating for these conditional picks whatsoever. It makes them completely useless. Because the other team is now forcing the condition to behave one way or the other. How is that respecting the composition of the game? or respecting the business. After this year, it's out the window. The league is seeing this, and they're going to do something about it, and they have to, because that's an utter embarrassment. That is an utter embarrassment. Absolutely nuts, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Let me know what you guys think, man. My guy Will Latimer in the building. Salute to Will. JJ says, don't let teams get top 5 picks back-to-back years. Interesting. Yeah. It's nuts, man. I like the limited protections thing. You know, make it only top 4. I don't know. Should restricting the team from drafting top 5 back-to-back years? It's kind of tough. That's kind of tough too. But I like either getting rid of the conditionals, the protections, or lowering the protections for sure. It's getting ridiculous now. Okay, on to the next topic. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Giannis says he will never ask for a trade from the Bucks. That's not in my nature, man. Are you guys getting tired of the Giannis talk like I am? Here we go again. But this one came out today, fresh off the presses from Sam Amick. I believe he covers the NBA for The Athletic, not just the Milwaukee Bucks, and had himself quite a one-on-one interview with Giannis, in which he pretty much, asked Giannis about the trade, or whether he was going to ask about the trade, and probably, asked him about 15 different ways to get to the same point. But the point here is that Giannis says he will never ask for a trade from the Bucks. There will never be a chance, and there will never be a moment that I will come out and say I want to trade. Who can opt out of his contract, says Giannis, who can opt out of his contract in the summer of 2027. That's not in my nature. So here we go again with the Giannis talk. I'm over it. He doesn't want to look like the bad guy, which you can't blame him. He doesn't want to look like the bad guy. Of course, he's not going to say. It's kind of like the Dame situation all over again. Yeah, I don't want to say I want to get traded, but never say never. As of, this is what the article say. As of today, I don't want to be traded. As of today, I love my relationship with my team. I love my teammates. I love everything. Tomorrow could be something else. Knock it off, man. Just knock it off. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. They are 11th in the East right now, hovering around the play-in. He can't stay healthy. Like, Giannis, if I'm Giannis, I say, you know what? I'm going to worry about what's going on right here in this locker room. And that's it. Because, you had the reports from Shams that they met. They talked. He gave him a list of teams. He had the reports that he put the Knicks out there. Now he's coming out saying, I didn't request the trade. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Maybe it was his agent. Seems to be putting a lot of stuff off on the agent. The agent. Okay, so the agent went to the front office. They inquired. I'm sure they did say, hey, we like New York. And maybe John Horst called Leon. He didn't like what the offer was, because that would surely put his head on a spike in Milwaukee. Probably went to Giannis and said, hey, we went to them. We don't like the deal. They don't have much to offer. And so we're in a holding pattern right now. And that's probably where we are right now. I think that's probably where we are right now. So he's going to sit there and say, I'll never request a trade. I'm an honorable guy. But things can change, right? Things can change. You never know, type of thing. He can say that, but most likely the deal with the Knicks, or whatever deal that they were flirting about, was not sufficient for Milwaukee. It's a much more complex trade. And so there's nowhere else for him to do if that is truly the team he wants to play for. Certainly not going to happen this year. So that's probably where it is. That's probably where it is. Hooper, you could call in on the NBA Report Discord. Hooper, call in on the NBA Report Discord. But it's just like the constant. Oh my God, like, dude, enough already, man. You guys are in 11th place in the East. Like, you're not getting traded to the Knicks, and that's just it. But at the same time, for the guy to be like, well, I want to compete and I want to win a championship, and if these guys aren't doing it, then maybe I change my mind. Like, we know what you want. We know he wants to win a championship. We know Milwaukee is moving heaven and earth to try to do so within their limited means. They had to go out, they amnestied Dame, they brought in Miles Turner, and they're sitting in 11th place in the East. That's the reality of where Giannis is. Armand saying he craves attention. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like enough already, man. Enough already, man. But yeah, so that's the Giannis stuff. Do we got Hooper on the Discord? Hooper, are you there? Yo, what's up, man?
No, the trade was an interesting one for sure.
One more time?
The trade was interesting for sure. I never thought
Trae
Trae Young would want to go to the Wizards.
Yeah.
Of all teams.
Yeah. Definitely interesting, man.
Thought he would bring.
Maybe some may have thought he would have went to Milwaukee.
Yeah, he would have actually helped Milwaukee. That would have been a good fit.
Yeah. I'm getting some audio feedback from you, man. You got to fix your mic.
Oh.
Sounds a little bit better now. Try it again.
Oh, it's good?
Yeah, it's a little choppy, man. Go one more time.
It's good now?
Yeah, it's good now. Go ahead.
No, yeah, so I thought he'd want to go somewhere else, but, the Wizards, they won this trade. The Hawks got fleeced, though.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, I don't think the Hawks really had much to add. You can't really ask for much when nobody really wants the guy.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah. But either way, man, the Knicks are getting fleeced in this one. Forget the Hawks and the Wizards. Knicks are getting fleeced in here, man.
Yeah, hopefully the Knicks can win tomorrow, though. We need to continue to get more wins.
Tighten up, man. Knicks in the Valley of the Sun. Appreciate the call, Hooper. Knicks headed to Phoenix. First of 4 out west. All right, who else we got in the chat? Mellow Mike, salute. Yeah. Hooper's volume was a little bit low, man. But you guys can call us up on the NBA Report Discord if you guys want to chop it up on today's topics. So we talked Trae, we talked Giannis, and it's so interesting. When we talked about Trae, we talked about the fact that after the Eastern Conference Finals, you never really heard from that Hawks team again. They were never really that team anymore. Well, they lost to the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, but they also beat the Knicks in the first round of that 2021 playoffs. And both franchises have kind of changed for both franchises, because the Knicks would end up later on, in a couple years later, trading their draft pick, their homegrown star, in R.J. Barrett, and in trading Emmanuel Quickly, and they traded both of them for OG Anunoby. And since then, this trade has benefited both teams, because just last night you had R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly out in Charlotte with the Raptors taking on the Hornets, and a little bit shorthanded as Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes are unavailable for a stint in this game. And it was the former Knick duo of R.J. Barrett who finished with 28 and 7, including 16 in the fourth, and Emmanuel Quickly finished with 21 points and a game winner, lifting the Raptors over the Charlotte Hornets, man. And all the talk in the East has been about, obviously, Detroit being in first, the Knicks being in second, third, and kind of wavering a little bit, the Celtics creeping up. But how about the Toronto Raptors, ladies and gentlemen? They right now are in fourth place in the East. Fourth place in the East. The Raptors have won 15 out of the last 17 games in which R.J. Barrett has played. Knicks Nation, we got to put some respect on our guy's name here, man. He's becoming a household name. He's back home in Toronto. And he is impacting, when we talked about RJ, especially back in his early days with the Knicks, it was like, all right, all this empty stats, empty calories. Is he impacting winning? Well, right now, you look at the numbers, he is impacting winning in a major way in Toronto. As I said, man, they won 15 of the last 17 games that he played. 28-7 in that win over the Charlotte Hornets just last night. And RJ was sensational, man. Here he was with the media after they won that game last night. Here he was with the media on just his role playing alongside B.I. and Scotty Barnes. Here we go.
Brandon out and Scotty his knee was getting looked at during the fourth. Does it almost make it easier in the sense that the ball's going to come to you fairly regularly and you just gotta go and make something happen?
I've always said that I'm here to do whatever the team needs me to do to win. So tonight, it was to make those plays down the stretch. Other nights it's been to play defense, cut. Other nights it's been to get a lot of assists. Like whatever it is that the team needs me to do, I'm going to try to do that every night.
All right, that was R.J. Barrett with the media and saying, hey, whatever I got to do to win, I'm willing to do. And I told you guys, at least some of you guys on the KFTV side, I told you guys when I ran into his father during Summer League last summer, I ran into Rowan Sr., and we had a good conversation, and he was raving. He was raving about Coach Darko and the system that they have implemented there in Toronto, how much better RJ is in playing in that system. Look, when he was with the Knicks, he was playing with Tibbs, and Tibbs running more isolation with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. So R.J. Barrett was really the third guy and really didn't have a role. But under this new system with under Coach Darko, you could see his responsibilities have increased, and he's become more of a go-to guy for the Raptors, man. And it's looking good. Like, take a look at these numbers here for RJ. They're looking really good. I think one of the biggest leaps that he took this year is on the short mid-range. Look at the accuracy from the mid-range. He's jumped up 10 points from last year. His effective field goal percentage has gone up about 4 points since last year as well. And then his rim numbers is going up 6 points. So we all know that RJ, yes, he likes to go left, and yes, he likes to attack the rim, but you still got to stop him. And thus, this far this year, he's been very impactful in that regard. 67% at the rim. Take a look at the foul draw numbers. Always high. Always high. Can always draw contact. Shooting foul numbers. 14, 15, 14, 15, 14, 15%. Always one of the best at drawing contact, drawing shooting fouls in the NBA. And then when you look at the on-off numbers and you look at the four factors, look at the team's efficiency with RJ in the lineup. Last 3 years with the Raptors. Look where it's at right now. Raptors plus 4% higher effective field goal percentage when RJ's in the game. Nice differential for RJ. Points per possession up. So offensively, he's doing his job. And the thing with RJ is that, yeah, they brought in B.I. to be the guy. They drafted Scotty to be the guy, but RJ is showing, hey, when those guys are not here, I can be the guy as well. I can lead. And so to have a guy who can get you efficient points at the rim, can stop the clock by getting you to the free throw line, strong, we all know that was RJ's base skill set coming into the league even as a rookie. Strong moves to the rim, and he's getting better at it now. Now the mid-range is starting to pop. Seeing some really tangible results here from R.J. Barrett, and it's now you can't really be surprised that this team is fourth in the East. This is looking like a legit 4-5 spot, and not just a hot start. They're looking really good. JT Riddick says, JJ, I'm blaming you. My Knicks fans in the chat reminiscing. Yeah, he's doing very well. I just felt like we got to put some respect on his name here. Because he's been lights out. And he missed some time with I believe it was a foot injury. Or leg injury. He had to get some platelet procedures done. That was a little sus, but okay, it looks all right, man. Saw a guy Broadway. That's what we used to call him, Broadway. Now there was another soundbite here from RJ. This was on Quick because Quickly had the game winner. And here is RJ on Quick's performance. Here we go.
Oh yeah, no, that was good. That was good. Scotty set a great screen, so Quick was wide open. So he had he could take his time. I mean, that's Emmanuel Quickly, man. Like once you shot that ball, I was like, oh yeah, no, we're good. We're going home. He's gonna knock him down, man. We trust him. He works hard, works on those shots every day. So yeah. Oh.
Well, I didn't hit the reporter came in kind of low. I think she said, was that the 8th game winner for Emmanuel Quickly? 8th game winner. So, as I said, both teams with Knicks with OG Anunoby, Raptors with RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, both teams seem to be benefiting from this trade. And as a Knicks fan, I'm always going to be rooting for these guys, for RJ and Quick, man. Always going to be rooting for their success. So good to see them, just as long as they don't beat the Knicks in the playoffs. But hey, for the Knicks, based on how they're matching up with teams, this probably is the best matchup for them going into the first round. So we'll see where both teams end up in the standings. 100 people here on the check-in, man. Like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to the NBA Report. Great show, man. Let me know what you guys thought about today's topics. We touched on Trae Young. We touched on Giannis and the in and out trade rumors. I'm here, I'm not here type of nonsense. And then put some respect on RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly's name. Leave us some comments in the comment section. Hey, leave us some suggestions. Throw some stuff in the suggestion box. Obviously, with the NBA Report, we're going to always have top-notch NBA guests. And we're going to be covering it every week, man. So keep it locked. Remember that the show's available in audio podcast format. Make sure to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And yeah, man, we always appreciate the support. Hey, we made it to 100,000 subscribers on Knicks Fan TV. We're going to do it here. Just wait on it. JT Riddick, salute to the replay gang. Salute to you guys. I'm out of here. Have a great day. Peace.